Keller. 115, T. Baggins. Very good. 1977, R2 Decu. 203, Alexander Slamilton. 38, Cold-Blooded Myrtle. 403, Jelly Bonut. 42 is Asian Thunder. 44 is Kunatic. 534 is Siren Maiden. 70 Velvet Hammer. 826 Heinrich Maneuver. 89 Bear Jew. And number 9 Truffle Shuffle.
And skating for Dublin Roller Derby B team today, we have number 05, Vegan Fox, 101 Powell, 11 Flash Dancer, 150 Cooney, 22 Balls, 33 Petrifier, 42 Exterminate, 43 Nasher, 47 AK, 50 Barbaric Acid, 555 Crash Test Crummy, 65 Bashful, 7 Ellie Beating, 816 Bliss of Death, and 934 Surly Temper. Let's give it up for the Low Rolling Deuces and Dublin Roller Derby B.
Okay, we're off now. The first jam of today's game. This is 2 games today, and this is the first game of the day for the Low Rolling Deuces, who will be playing East Coast Cyclones after this game. So we have Ciara Powell jamming for Dublin, making her way out the front there, but gets hit off on the inside line.
Meanwhile, at the back of the pack, R2 Decu is working her way through for the Low Rolling Deuces. She's out first and is lead jammer for Wilkes. Granted. Meanwhile, Powell has managed to overtake her, and R2 Decu does the smart thing and calls off the jam, but that is a statement of intent there from the Low Rolling Deuces.
Very exciting. So lining up for jam number 2 here, we have Crystal Methodist for Low Rolling Deuces versus Vegan Fox for Dublin B.
Due to that very quick first jam, we have a full complement of skaters on track right now. As the jammers work their way up to the front, Vegan Fox finds a gap on that outside and comes through to pick up lead jammer status, but it is a very hot pack here as she's pursued by Crystal Methodist. She does manage to get into that pack and open the scoring for Dublin before having to call off the jam. 2 points now on the board for the team in blue.
All right, 2 really short jams to start off the game here. We've got Dublin sitting at 2. Low Rolling Deuces yet to score, going into our 3rd jam with Crash Test Crummy on the line for Dublin. And I think that is it Kodak Killer? Kodak Killer? That's Kodak Killer for Low Rolling Deuces. We've got some. Okay, we've got Crash Test Crummy making her way out as your lead jammer this time. Kodak Killer still trapped behind that Dublin wall, but looking for that inside line. Stopped by Grace Balls of Fire, who recycles her to the back. Meanwhile, Crash is up and scoring.
A full scoring pass now completed by Crash Test Crummy, as Kodak Killer is being held by a Dublin wall that is determined not to let her through. A full complement of 4 skaters holding her back. 1 now heading to the box. She's got a tripod to beat, but forced bridging here. The pack is being extended as Crash Test Crummy once more to the front of that pack, and that Low Rolling Deuces tripod forced to make way for her, and that's her second scoring. Oh, sorry, excuse me, her 3rd scoring pass of the jam.
Meanwhile, Kodak Killer has the star of her helmet, probably looking to pass to her pivot. She's seen a little daylight here now on the inside line and is able to complete that initial pass. Crash looking to her bench to get instructions as to whether to call the jam or not. Kodak Killer finally coming around for a scoring pass. And she calls the jam, denying Low Rolling Deuces any chance of points on that jam, and leaving Dublin sitting at 17 points to 0.
Dublin with 2 skaters in the box. One of them is their pivot, so they'll be starting with a very short pack. So we have Insangel lining up here on the jam line for Low Rollin' Deuces, and that is AK for DRDB. We take an official timeout. We're just going to have a quick look. The referees are getting themselves all sorted, I think.
There's some great pride socks going on the track right now from Low Rollin' Deuces.
AK getting caught up with 3 blockers here, trying to work her way through. One at the front there for Dublin, but Insangel having some trouble getting through. AK does manage to make her way out and pick up lead jammer status as Pivot Nasher rejoins.
AK hitting the back of the pack now, looking for points. Insangel coming up behind, getting caught on the outside line by Nasher for Dublin.
Insangel just kind of threading her way through, trying to find a gap here at the front. As one more blocker heads back to the box.
Insangel getting caught up on that Dublin wall at the front that just keeps managing to recycle her once she sees a bit of daylight. Meanwhile, AK doing a beautiful little hop over the pivot for Low Rolling Deuces, making it out for another 4 points.
AK managing to daintily dodge the blocking and complete another scoring pass. That is, it looks like a 16-point jam to me.
Yeah,
for Dublin.
Big jam. And we have 4 points on the board there for Low Rolling Deuces, so getting started on the scoreboard there. So we have 33 to 4 now as our score going into the fourth jam, excuse me.
And that is R2 Deku for Low Rolling Deuces, forced to recycle here way back. Behind Cooney, and Ciara Powell is on a scoring pass right now, but has been taken down, finding trouble finding her feet. Having trouble finding her feet.
Yeah, she just found them there again.
And a real grind here at turn 1 as the skaters are working their way. The blockers really not wanting to let them through.
Yeah, you can see R2 Deku putting her full force into the seam of that wall, trying to get through, having a really hard time with that strong defense. And similarly, Ciara Powell at the front, struggling with that tripod from Low Rolling Deuces that just keeps recycling around and rotating.
And a no pack called. Powell is out, freed, and completes a scoring pass. R2 Deku not quite managing to get points on the board that time.
And we had a race to get to the jam line here for the 2 teams for the next jam.
It always looks so crowded when you have that full complement of blockers trying to get into a really itty-bitty living space.
Very good.
That is Heinrich maneuver lining up on the jam line for Low Rolling Deuces. Vegan Fox for DRD.
So first jam we've seen for Heinrich maneuver today, wearing some fantastic watermelon socks. And we have a penalty being called on Vegan Fox for Dublin, giving Heinrich maneuver the chance to jam unopposed for the next 30 seconds. Heiner Ganiver manages to pass the star to the low rolling Deuces pivot, who is...
That is Crystal Methodist, who is now your jammer. We're going to have a full 2-minute jam now as Crystal Methodist tries to get some points on the board now for the low rolling Deuces.
We saw Crystal Methodist jamming already for low rolling Deuces at the beginning of the game, so she's no stranger to the star. So I think Dublin have a lot of defense to put up here. Meanwhile, Vegan Fox has been released from the penalty box and has completed a pass and is eligible to score now. Just cutting through that pack like a, what was it, a lightsaber?
A hot lightsaber through a tauntaun.
Yeah, exactly like that.
I mean, it smells a bit, but it's an effective strategy.
Very effective. Fox looking back at her bench, seeing what's up. And meanwhile, Crystal Methodist hitting the DRD tripod at the front of the pack and just pushing to get them out of play.
Exactly, this is a jam of attrition. There is nobody who can call it off except the referees. So it is up to each jammer just to try to get more points on the board than the opposition. But it looks like it's even Stevens for that jam, 12 points apiece.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can do so much on track and still kind of come out the same way you went in.
Ah, yes, but 16 looks a lot nicer than 4, so I think low rolling Deuces will be very happy with that jam.
True. Yeah, so the scores are now 53 for Dublin to 16 for low rolling Deuces.
And lining up for the low rolling Deuces, we have Kodak Killer. Lining up for DRD is Crash Test Crummy, number 555.
Really tight packs at the start of all of these jams. And these jammers just looking for that little bit of air. We've got Crash making it out as your lead jammer, but followed very closely by Kodak Killer. She decides to call it off and prevent any scoring on the other side.
Yeah, Kodak Killer really finding reserves of speed there to chase down Crash Test Crummy and force that call off.
Okay, going into this next jam, we have one blocker for each team in the penalty box. So we'll have 3-on-3 for the defense at the start. AK jamming for Dublin. And who is that for low rolling Deuces? That's Insangel for low rolling Deuces. I should have known her from the socks. AK gets a quick lead jammer call there and is eligible to score now, while Insangel, having taken the star off her helmet, manages to get out on the inside line and is also eligible to score.
AK working to get her way past Insangel to try and get a couple of points on before the call off.
We're going to have a little official timeout here now. Time to take our breath.
Don't forget, it is a double-header day today. The low rolling Deuces are, after this, going to be taking a little bit of a rest for a while, and then we'll be back in action against our locals, the East Coast Cyclones.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to a whole day of derby action here.
I kind of feel like I live here sometimes.
We're actually here more often than we're at our own houses. So this seems like as good a time as any to let you know about the wonderful officials that we have here today. I'm just going to read out their names, but you can give them the appropriate amount of applause. So we have Brain of Terror, Snowy, the Rehabilitator. We've got Wheeze, we got Malabru Stacy, we got Marilyn Manson. We've got Ms. Fury, Stephanie Jones, and our favorite NSO, Bloody. You can do the refs whenever, maybe the next one.
So Kira Powell, in the meantime, has made her way out and picked up lead jammer status. At the back here, R2 Deku is stashing that start, trying to get through. Asian Thunder trying to run some interference there and help her out. But that four wall of blockers really making life difficult for her. She does manage to get that star pass off, passing to Truffle Shuffle, who is now your jammer. Powell, however, happy enough with two scoring passes.
Yeah, never happy with one scoring pass.
No.
Always two.
Two. Calls off that jam before that star pass can be capitalized on. Sentences. Not my forte today.
No sentences are hard.
It's 1-1-0, so Kodak Killer.
Okay, so we have Kodak Killer back on the line for low rolling Deuces versus Vegan Fox. We've got a pack advantage here for Dublin with one blocker from low rolling Deuces in the box. So Fox takes advantage of that and makes it as your lead jammer. Fox with a one-footed glide on the outside looking for some points. And then a little hop on the inside to get her through for 4. Kodak Killer, meanwhile, breaking out of her initial pass and is now eligible to score. Beautiful balletic move there by Fox. Picking up another 4, I think, there.
Yeah.
Yes, another 4. So an 8-point jam for Dublin there.
I really love seeing Fox working her way through that pack, because it's like, she does look like a fox. She's like, get me in here. Rrr.
Yeah.
Fierce is what I think I need to say. Cunning and fierce. Yes.
And kind of cute.
And fast as heck. Insangel, number 21, very quick down that outside line, picking up lead jammer status, sorely wanted by the low rolling Deuces. They are now have the upper hand. This jam up at the front here, cross chest crummy, one more blocker to beat, but in the pack, Insangel is on a scoring pass and trying to find some space to get points on the board. Gets that call off, so holds Dublin to 0 and gets 2 on the board for low rolling Deuces.
Big hand slaps there for Insangel on the way off the track from her teammates. That was an incredibly quick lead jammer call as she managed there.
She hadn't even hit the corner.
I don't think the whistle had even finished whistling.
So we have AK up against R2 Deku. AK finding a gap there. She is lead jammer. R2 Deku has 4 blockers to beat, but she's getting some interference here from her blocking compatriots.
AK doing some ducking and diving, trying to avoid falling over there on top of the wall, but manages to make it through for her 4 points. And meanwhile, there has been a star pass for the low rolling Deuces.
That is Crystal Methodist. So that is, I think, the 3rd or 4th successful star pass that we've seen from the low rolling Deuces. I guess when you're up against solid blocking like you see here with Dublin Roller Derby B, it's a really good strategy to have practiced and to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, I think having a pivot there for you can be quite the relief when you're stuck behind a wall.
Heinrich maneuver lining up for low rolling Deuces. Kira Powell for DRD. Powell is down that outside line very quickly. Once more lead jammer for DRD. The watermelon socks of Heinrich maneuver very visible on the track as she's forced to recycle.
Yeah, Heinrich maneuver basically has been glued to Cooney's butt this whole time. So she's got her star off her helmet and she's ready to look for a pivot, I think, now.
It is fun to see Ellie Beating and Cooney blocking together. They have been pals on the track for many, many years now for DRD, so it's great to see them in action together.
And shout out to the 2 mini Coonies that are here.
2.
Somewhere in the crowd.
The Star Blast deployed once more. Truffle Shuffle is now your jammer for low roll and Deuces. And again, an empty penalty box coming into the 14th jam of the game.
Yeah, the game really shaping up now. We've got about 13 minutes left of play in this first half of roller derby today. Dublin sitting at 89 points and low rolling Deuces at 18.
Kodak Killer lining up on the jam line for low rolling Deuces. Up the front, Vegan Fox is out and lead jammer.
Kodak Killer thinking better of it there, very aware of her feet and recycles to the back to avoid being called for a cutting penalty. Meanwhile, Vegan Fox has picked up 4 points and is coming around for a second scoring adventure. Fox separating that wall with ease and making out for another 4 points on the outside line and calling off the jam.
And just towards the end of that jam, once again, we see a star pass from low roll and Deuces. That I think they've probably had more jams with star passes than without them at this point.
Yeah, there's been heavy usage of the star pass, but it is such an excellent way to put pressure on the other team to call it off.
Yeah, they've got to figure out exactly like who is this other jammer, how do they work, and it kind of throws your defense into disarray in some ways when that pass is executed.
And we have our wonderful track ninjas here working to keep the track operational. Can we get a round of applause for the track ninjas?
Gotta love them ninjas. Meanwhile, we have a team timeout, the first of the game for the low rolling Deuces. They're gonna, I guess, figure out what's up and how they're gonna get the last 12 minutes of this half to play their way.
All right, lining up back on track now. We have Insangel for the low rolling Deuces versus Crash Test Crummy. Last time Insangel was out, we had a really quick lead call. She's working against that Dublin wall there now at the back, looking for a line. Meanwhile, Crash is pushing out the front of the low rolling Deuces defense. She is getting caught on the line each time. And Insangel already has the cap off, so she is unable to receive a lead jammer at this point. Crash Test Crummy with patience and pushing, makes it out the front and is now your lead jammer. And meanwhile, Insangel has been called for a penalty to go to the box, leaving Crash the chance to jam unopposed now for 30 seconds, already eligible to score. So she has a great opportunity here for scoring. Of course, before she scores, she has to deal with that defense from low roll and Deuces, which is pretty formidable. And she picks up her 4 points and calls it off, leaving Insangel in the penalty box for the beginning of the next jam.
And this jam has taken DRD over the century mark, 101 points on the board. As the team timeout has now been called by team timeout called by? Why is he pointing it?
By the officials?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a team timeout?
I guess it's Dublin.
Official timeout?
I think that's a Dublin timeout.
It's some sort of timeout. Probably a really good time for me to tell you about the raffle.
Gotta love a raffle.
Yeah. So for those of you with a gambling inclination,
That's not me.
We, well, everybody loves to win and everybody loves to gamble, right? So we've got some really nice treats and gifts over there on the raffle table for each day. There's like loads of really nice chockies and sweet things. There's little sets of smelly candles and nice like spa packages and nail polish sets and all sorts of nice things like that. My favorite, my personal favorite, prize available for the raffle today is the deodorizing gear spray, which I know many of you will thank me for winning later.
AK starting the jam with a power jam and capitalizing, making hay while the sun shines out and lead jammer for your jam.
AK finishing that first scoring adventure there. And we have Insangel having returned from the box, looking to complete her initial pass. AK just went into the chaos there and emerged unscathed for another 4 points. Insangel, meanwhile, has the star off her helmet, has just replaced the star on her helmet and is continuing to attempt to get through that really strong Dublin blocking wall. AK taking a spill on the way through the pack there, but gets up quick and does a little transition on the inside line, unsure about her footing, so sensibly returns to the back of pack.
So Exterminate and Barbaric Acid there really holding back.
Yeah, really just giving her a tough time there. Gruesome, twosome. Just under the 10-minute mark left in this first half of the game. We're looking at Dublin on 117 points to 18 points for low roll and Deuces.
And jamming stalwart R2 Deku is back, wearing the star for the low roll and Deuces. Ciara Powell up at the front there, getting some assistance from Ellie Beading. And finding that space around that outside and getting through for lead jammer.
Ciara must have installed those magnets we were talking about in her wheels there in order to stay glued to the track on that 1 foot. So the jam is called off before R2 Deku can meet the pack again, and so she's unable to score, but Ciara picks up 3 in that jam, bringing the Dublin score to 120. Low roll and Jesus sitting at 18.
Kodak Killer lining up once more against Vegan Fox. 2 really scrappy jammers.
Fox doing a little dance up the inside line, coming back around and ducking around that one leftover blocker at the front of pack to become your lead jammer.
Kodak Killer stashing the helmet cover once more.
Fox, meanwhile, coming up for her second scoring pass, looking for that outside line and takes it. Another 4 points for Dublin.
And Jelly Bumnut is your jammer. Once more, a successful star pass for low roll and Deuces.
So we have a penalty now on the jammer for low roll and Deuces, giving Dublin 30 seconds to capitalize.
Some offensive blocking here from Dublin, making some space for Vegan Fox. Nicely done there around turn 4 and calling off that jam.
Love a bit of good coordinated offense on a power jam. So we're starting the next jam with the jammer for Low Roll and Deuces still sitting in the penalty box. And Crash Test Crummy on the line to jam for Dublin.
The Low Roll and Deuces blockers were keeping as close to the pivot line as they could before that jam kicked off. Staying as far away from Crash Test Crummy as they possibly could. And Crash Test Crummy around turn 3, lead jammer has been achieved.
So getting a last little bit of offense here from her pack. Crash Test Crummy fighting against that defense from Low Roll and Deuces, while the jammer from Low Roll and Deuces has re-entered the track after her penalty.
And a great recycled force there on Crash Test Crummy. Some excellent blocking from the Low Roll and Deuces blockers as they force her back again, delaying the accumulation of points.
Well, delaying it, but not for too long. Crash is making her way through and completes that scoring pass with another 4 points for Dublin on the board. Meanwhile, the jammer for Low Roll and Deuces has the star off her helmet.
She went back. She must have forced. Did she? Jelly Bona, yeah. But Crash went back though. I don't think she got points again. She must have been out and went back again when she realised she was going to get a triple.
Oh yeah, but like you did get points for the whole scoring journey.
But well, I don't know, because she came all the way back. She was like she passed up and then came back.
Oh, like she got one set at 4 points.
Yeah. That is Kunatik jamming there for Low Roll and Deuces. First time we've seen Kunatik wearing the star. And AK out front there, one of DRDB's premium jammers. I mean, we don't have they don't have any yellow pack jammers, but yes.
Tesco value jammers.
No, they're all from the deluxe range.
Yes, I like to think that all the skaters we've seen today have been from the deluxe range.
They're the ones you get if you're having visitors.
Bring them to the good room.
Also, don't eat those biscuits. They're for the visitors.
They're not for you. You just have to eat the rich tea biscuits.
R2 Deku jamming for Low Roll and Deuces. Kira Powell is wearing the star for DRDB. Some scrappy blocking here. They really are managing to hold her back. But after 15 seconds of the jam has elapsed, she has managed to escape and pick up lead jammer status.
We've got R2 Deku now fighting against that wall at the back. Has the star taken off her helmet, looking for some assistance from her teammates to complete that initial pass.
Balls and Nash are really holding her off. It took a while to get that star pass completed, but it is now on the way. And Heinrich maneuver is now your jammer for Low Roll and Deuces.
Kira Powell, looking to her bench, decides the best course of action is to call off the jam. Having picked up 8 points in that jam, a job well done. I think we'll allow her to call it off then. Dublin are now sitting at 152 to 18 points for the Low Roll and Deuces, and we're coming up to the last 2 minutes of play in the first half of this game.
And Kodak Killer is your jammer for the Low Roll and Deuces. Vegan Fox for DRD. Fox is up the front and around that turn 1.
Kodak Killer really pushing that wall, putting it under pressure, but still finding it rotating back in front of her again every time she sees a bit of daylight. Meanwhile, Fox has been dragged to the rear by the pivot for Lower Rolling Deuces. That's Truffle Shuffle. And is engaged on the wall again. But manages to skip up that inside line to complete her scoring pass. We have a jammer race here. Fox deciding when she should try to call off the jam. Manages to hold Lower Rolling Deuces scoreless in the jam, while picking up 4 points for Dublin.
And that is, I think, Dublin's second team timeout of the game. So I'm going to introduce you to your refs. We have Riff Ref, Strange Brew, Logan Nighthawk, Ruby Off the Rails, Polly, Rob, and Shref, I guess.
Woo! Let's hear it for the refs.
Let's hear it for our refs, our skating officials. We like them.
If you don't cheer, they'll give you penalties.
I guess. I'm not complaining. I think it's flipping great.
Cool. We should give them something.
And it's the first time we are seeing Alexander Slamilton jamming for Low Rolling Deuces. And that is Crash Test Crummy for DRD.
So we have 2 Dublin blockers in the box. Slamilton still working on that duo of Divine and Surly.
Petrifier tagging in to give some assistance.
Ooh, I heard that. That's a Petrifier being recycling Alexander Slamilton to the back and blocking her all the way to the front, where she manages to escape and complete that initial pass. Now eligible to score.
Meanwhile, Crash Test Crummy is working her way through. She just has 3 blockers to beat up at the front there, but she decides to call the jam as she spots the Alexander Slamilton approaching the back of the pack. 2 points there on the board for Dublin, and the whistles have gone for half-time. So our half-time score, 158 to Dublin, 18 points to the Low Rolling Deuces, who we adore and are fabulous.
Aren't they wonderful? We love them.
So for the next 14 and a half minutes, I advise you to purchase things like raffle tickets and just have a little pride parade or something, I guess.
Make sure you get fed and watered. There are delicious vegan cinnamon rolls at the cake stand. I can personally attest to.
She's had 7.
I'm not sure there's any left, actually, but they were great.
So we'll see you back here very, very soon.
Okay, take your seats, everyone, and welcome back to this game of the first game of the day. It is Dublin B Team versus Low Rolling Deuces from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, United States of America. Going into the second half here with the score at 158 for Dublin and 1-8 for Low Rolling Deuces. And the first jam here, we have Kira Powell as your lead jammer, followed quite closely by
Kunatik.
Thank you. That's Kunatik.
No points for anybody that jam, as Kunatik was hot on the heels of Powell there and forced the call off.
But they had a great time anyway. Okay, second jam of the half. We've got Vegan Fox on the line versus R2 Deku, I think, for low roll and deuces.
That's right.
Tight defense from both teams, but Vegan Fox is pushing hard to get out that front on the inside line for your lead jammer. Meanwhile, R2 Deku has the star off her helmet.
But she spots a gap on that outside line and hops on one foot to get around the blockers. And that's completed her initial trip, so she's now eligible to score.
Vegan Fox juking out the pivot for low roll and deuces and picking up 4 points and calling off the jam.
You never see Angie with just her bandana on. She's fabulous. Jumanji, WCC?
Oh, yes. Yeah, she's one of those ones I would only have seen on skates.
And we have Crystal Methodist starting the jam with the star this time. And she's up against Crash Test Crummy. Very quick off the line there. Lead jammer status gained by Crystal Methodist for low rolling juices. And the crowd goes wild.
Crystal Methodist hitting the pack now and scoring. Being taken out on the outside, but quickly back in and through for 4 big points. Meanwhile, Crash sneaks through on the inside line to equalize that with another 4, and Crystal Methodist running the jam for now.
Dublin sneaking an additional point there at the end. But Crystal Methodist going to be absolutely delighted with that. 7 points on the board for the low roll and juices.
So a strong start to the second half from the low roll and deuces. This is the sort of intensity that we were hoping to see in the second half.
And an official timeout being called. I just want to see how many folks have traveled with the low roll and juices, because it sounds like there's a million of you. Awesome. Come on, give me a cheer. That's right. That's amazing. You guys rule. And you're all so, so welcome.
Looks like we're ready to roll again here.
We are, and rolling on that jam line is number 203, Alexander Slamilton, up against 47 AK for Dublin Roller Derby.
So AK got nearly hit out there on the inside line, but managed to tiptoe around, making her the lead jammer for this jam. And she is now currently scoring at the back of the pack while Alexander Slamilton is working away on completing that initial pass. AK tiptoes up the inside line for a further 4 points on this jam. And looks like we've had a star pass to the pivot from low roll and deuces, who is being blocked by Exterminate at the back of the pack.
I think you did that thing first. I'll tell you in the middle of the challenge. It's too funny.
Another 4 for AK, but unfortunately she is called for a cut track penalty, so we'll be sitting in the box for the next 30 seconds.
Gives the low roll and Deuces blockers a chance to run some interference on Dublin and try to get their jammer through and eligible for points.
So Truffle Shuffle, who is the pivot now jammer for low roll and Deuces, calling for some offense from her teammates.
Just 2 Dublin blockers on the track right now.
Meanwhile, AK has escaped from the box and escaped from the pack. Truffle Shuffle being held by the formidable trio of Esther, Bliss and Petrifier. Back on track now, we have Kira Powell jamming for Dublin versus Kunatik for low roll and Deuces. Kira making sure work of the pack and busting through, and she is now your lead jammer. Meanwhile, Kunatik is working away against that Dublin defense right at the head of the pack. Kira slipping through for 4 points. Kunatik resetting herself to the back, getting an inside line offense from her teammate to complete that initial pass. Kunatik is through now and eligible to score. So Kira deciding whether or not to call the jam, and she does.
And we have Vegan Fox lining up to jam for Dublin. R2 Deku for low roll and Deuces.
So Fox through for 4 points there, and R2 Deku has completed the initial pass and is eligible to score.
So once again, this jam, we have Alexander Slamilton lining up for low roll and Deuces. Crash Test Crummy for Dublin Roller Derby. A real scrimmage here at the jam line. But Crash is through. Meanwhile, Alexander Slamilton trying to find some space. And in doing so, does manage to pick up a track cut penalty. So in the box, and it is a power jam for DRD and Crash Test Crummy.
Dublin trapping a goat at the back of pack there to try to give Crash a chance to break pack as easily as possible on this scoring pass. Crash ducking and diving her way through the pack. And now Dublin going in for some more active offense on the wall, clearing the outside line. Crash, another 4 points for Dublin. Meanwhile, Alexander Slamilton has re-entered the track after serving her 30-second penalty, but is recycled to the back by Devine. Crash finding a little space on that inside line to get through for a further 4 points pass. And again for another 4 points. Meanwhile, as Alexander Slamilton is being recycled again and again, finding it very difficult to find a little bit of space to get through that Dublin defence. Big hit from Nasher, taking Alexander Slamilton to the back. So that was a really big 24-point jam for Crashes Crummy on the Dublin B team.
I think that might be the highest scoring jam of the game so far.
I think you are correct, Cleverly.
Have a sit. Go for it. And lining up very far behind the pack here, we have AK skating against Insangel. AK is back and forth across that track, trying to find some space. And space she does find, picking up a lead jammer status. Insangel has a 3-wall of Exterminate, Petrifier to beat there, but the jam called off before she can make her way through. Thank you for passing that on to me. And, yeah.
It's really hard not to say it. All right, we've got just under 20 minutes left now in the second half of the game. Dublin sitting at 219 points with Low Roll and Deuces at 21. And we have Crystal Methodist on the jam line for Low Roll and Deuces versus AK for Dublin. AK getting recycled to the back by Jelly Donut from Low Roll and Deuces. Meanwhile, Crystal Methodist has made it out as your Lono. Unfortunately, she was not your lead jammer. Sorry, AK did receive lead jammer before that happened. Crystal Methodist now working on the pack, being drawn back by Bliss and Bash. AK scoring now and working on that 3-wall from Low Roll and Deuces. So despite not being lead jammer, Crystal Methodist has picked up 4 points, and AK also has her own 4 to answer for. Crystal Methodist manages to stay in on the outside line after that big hit by Bash. Attempts to call it off, but then realizes that she has not actually received lead jammer status.
But in the meantime, AK has received a penalty, so this is a power jam for Crystal Methodist and the Low Roll and Deuces, and this jam will run the full length of time. So let's see how many points Crystal Methodist can get on the board. She has already completed 2 scoring passes, and she's working hard at the front of the pack there to make it 3.
So we have AK released from the box for Dublin. Crystal Methodist approaching the pack for another scoring pass. Goes in with a big hit in the seam of the Dublin wall and gets through. Meanwhile, AK also through, both jammers circling around again, looking to score again. AK going for a little hop over the inside line. Crystal Methodist managing to ping pong off of those blockers and make her way through for another 4 points. So the biggest point scoring jam in the game for Low Roll and Deuces there. 20 points for Low Roll and Deuces versus 12 for Dublin.
I think Crystal Methodist going to be pretty pleased with her skating right there. That is 41 points now, so she's almost doubled their total.
Yeah, big jam for Low Roll and Deuces. So we have 2-3-1 for Dublin versus 41 for Lower Roll and Deuces. And back on the line again, now we have Ciara Powell jamming for Dublin versus R2 Decky for Lower Roll and Deuces. Looking for some jammer on jammer defense there to start the jam.
And the recycle for R2 Decky as Powell picks up a lead jammer status. Some interference by Asian Killer there.
Ciara Powell making it through the pack quickly for 4 points. R2 Decky just in front and eligible to score now. So Ciara will be thinking about whether to call the jam or not.
And one more point on the board there. Just stolen at the death by the Low Roll and Deuces to the 4 points in the previous scoring pass by Ciara Powell.
Hey, we're about halfway through, heading into the fourth quarter of this first game of the day. We've got Vegan Fox jamming for Dublin versus Kodak Killer for Low Roll and Deuces. Vegan Fox darting out there as your lead jammer. Meanwhile, Kodak Killer working on that tripod, gets an outside line gap there. The tripod recycles quickly to reform in front of her again. Vegan Fox getting some beautiful offense from Petrifier to make it through for 4 points. She speeds around to come for another scoring pass. Vegan Fox on 1 foot with 1 blocker to beat for another 4 points for Dublin.
And once more at the front, the Low Roll and Deuces tripod is engaged to hold back Vegan Fox.
Vegan Fox sly like a fox for another 4 points.
And a successful, oh wait, no, not quite a successful star pass. Truffle Shuffle has taken the star and is heading to the box for a track cut penalty, meaning she's going to sit in the jammer chair in that penalty box to serve that penalty as jammer, as Vegan Fox completes another scoring pass and calls off the jam.
So big jam there for Vegan Fox. 16 points on the board for Dublin with 0 for Low Roll and Deuces. We have the score sitting now at 2-5-1 for Dublin to 42 for Low Roll and Deuces. Starting off this next jam with the jammer from Low Roll and Deuces sitting in the penalty box, and Crash Test Crummy on the line for Dublin.
And Crash Test Crummy picking up lead jammer status around turn 1. Full complement of blockers for both teams on track. Let's see if there's going to be some offensive blocking here from Dublin as the Dublin jammer engages for a scoring pass. Truffle Shuffle is now out of the penalty box and engaging. She's still got to complete her initial.
So Truffle Shuffle has a star off her helmet, manages to distract with a little star stash and make it through on the outside line to complete her initial pass. She's now eligible to score. Meanwhile, Crash coming around looking for those final few points before calling it off. And she picks up 2.
And 2 on the board as well for the Low Roll and Deuces. Truffle Shuffle just getting in there into the pack and past 1 or 2 blockers to pick up some points there at the death of that jam.
I think she'd be quite happy with that. So at the beginning of this jam, we have pack advantage for Low Roll and Deuces, who have 4 blockers on track, with 1 blocker in the box for Dublin. Heinrich maneuver, trying to take advantage of that situation now, working against that Dublin tripod. Meanwhile, AK for Dublin, jamming against the last 2 blockers at the front of the pack, slices through the seam and makes it out as your lead jammer.
Heinrich maneuver at the back here, working so hard to get past that tripod. She is giving it everything she's got as Petrifier and Exterminate are holding her back.
AK now scoring, completing another scoring pass, or the first scoring pass, excuse me. Meanwhile, Heinrich maneuver has made it out. But AK calls the jam off to prevent any scoring. There's an 8-point jam there for Dublin, bringing their score to 2-7-3, with Low Roll and Jesus sitting at 44. We have a clear penalty box, a beautiful thing to behold at the start of this next jam. Ciara Powell for Dublin, taking a long run up to engage the wall, and it pays off as she receives lead jammer. Meanwhile, R2 Deku is working away against those Dublin blockers to complete that initial pass.
And a big tumble there as she's forced to recycle behind Divine. And tipped out again just at the edge of turn 1.
R2 Deku in that really unenviable place behind that 3-wall from Dublin. Manages to pass the star to her pivot in Angel. And now we have Ciara Powell trying to slow down the jammer from Low Roll and Deuces on the way up to the pack, burning a few seconds of the clock before calling the jam.
I'm so bored. Somebody do something.
And we're seeing this jammer line up quite a bit actually through this game. We have Vegan Fox for DRD up against Kodak Killer for the Low Roll and Deuces.
Vegan Fox tiptoes on one side, then tiptoes on the other side, then gets lead jammer. Kodak Killer recycled by Bash and brought back to that tripod of doom. We've got Fox scoring now, receiving some offense from Bliss at the top of the pack. Taking her 4 points and calling off the jam. Well, 8 points actually in total.
Just 7 minutes left in the second half. Don't forget we have another full game to look forward to later on this afternoon, as the Low Roll and Deuces will take on the East Coast Cyclones.
So that's Crystal Methodist jamming, receiving lead jammer status, making it of the chaos that was that jam start. AK, now having completed her initial pass, is trying to catch up here as Crystal Methodist attacks the wall while eligible to score. Crystal Methodist with 4 points there for Low Roll and Deuces. Answered by AK, who follows not too far behind. Crystal Methodist keeping the jam running and looking for another 4 points, which he picks up by darting through the seam of the Dublin wall and calling it off. That was a big jam for Low Roll and Deuces, who now sit at 52 points. Great excitement out on track as we go into this next jam with Heinrich and Maneuver, who is jamming for Lower Roll and Deuces, and Crash Test Crummy jamming for Dublin. Crash receiving some quick offense on the outside line from Divine is your lead jammer for this jam, followed not too far behind by Heinrich Maneuver.
Heinrich Maneuver really chasing down Crash Test Crummy and forcing the early call off. Dublin just managing to squeak 1 point that jam.
Boyfriend was ringing me again. I'm in so much trouble. Did he get in? No, he had me to pay the locksmith €90. I had texted him and I was like, oh, do you want me to come back out? And then the game started again, so I completely forgot. And then he was like, I need you to answer your phone. I'm like, oh, no. Oh, man. You should tell the crowd all about it.
In the doghouse.
R2Deku jamming for Low Roll and Deuces, trying at the front of the pack there to get past 2 remaining Dublin blockers, making life difficult, but she is determined.
So lead jammer awarded to Vegan Fox at turn 3 on the track, which is a long time for the lead jammer to be declared for this game. Meanwhile, there has been a star pass in the Lower Roll and Deuces to number 203, who is Alexander Slamonton. A back-blocking penalty has been called on Vegan Fox. Alexander Slamonton now has the opportunity to jam unopposed for 30 seconds. The Dublin defense holding on to Alexander Slamonton there. Low Roll and Deuces waiting for the moment to apply some offense, taking the inside line for Alexander Slamonton.
That spared you there, running some interference, trying to make some space for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton jammer.
Meanwhile, Vegan Fox has been released from the penalty box and is now engaged on that Low Roll and Deuces wall at the front of the pack. Low Roll and Deuces taking the opportunity to provide some offense for Alexander Slamonton here. But in doing so, have become distracted, allowing Vegan Fox to make another pass. So big 12 points there for Dublin on that jam, with 3 going on the board for Low Roll and Deuces.
And Dublin now hitting that 3-century mark. They're 300 years old.
They've never looked a day younger.
Wonder if you added up all their ages. You probably would get 300, would you?
So Kunatik working away on the Dublin wall here at the back for Low Roll and Deuces, while Ciara Powell had 1 to beat there at the top, and it has now received lead jammer status and is eligible to score. Kunatik still working at the back of that wall there, life being made very difficult for her by Nasher, Divine and Balls and that tripod. Meanwhile, Cooney with some textbook bridging. Ciara sensibly taking her time and keeping things legal here. Ciara called jam off there just as the star was passed to the pivot for Low Roll and Deuces. Coming out of that jam with 3 points and 0 for Low Roll and Deuces. Dublin sitting now at 3-1-1. Low Roll and Deuces at 55. We're coming towards the end of this half here with just 50 seconds on the clock.
And we have AK lining up to jam for Dublin Roller Derby. And I think that is Alexander Samilton. Sorry, it's Jelly Beaumont.
You can tell because of the sprinkles on her leggings.
Ah.
So AK coming around now, eligible to score again, having picked up 4 points already. Jelly Beaumont working on the Dublin tripods that have been so strong during this whole game. A big drawback by Flash Dancer there, bringing Jelly Beaumont back to that wall, killing some time off the clock for AK to complete another scoring pass. And deja vu, the same thing happening again. Meanwhile, AK struggling against that tripod, getting a little help from her pal Petrifier.
Jelly Beaumont, however, has been issued a track cut penalty, so AK is now in the middle of a power jam in the closing seconds of the game.
Another hard-fought 4 points from AK there. Dublin going back to the goating maneuver that they had on previous power jams. Woo!
And massive applause from both benches as the final whistle goes in this first game of the day. I think a massive achievement there for both teams. A huge scoreline for Dublin, but the sheer determination of Wilkes-Barre Scranton on that track as they fought for every single point and fought to keep Dublin from scoring points.
Absolutely.
It was really wonderful to watch.
Really intense game from both teams, and we have another game coming up after this for the low rolling Deuces, who are going to have to keep some fuel in the tank for that.
We doing high fives? I guess we're doing high fives.
So as in keeping with Derby tradition now, I invite you all to go down to give the old high fives to your teams.
Come on down and show some love, folks. Or stay sitting, whatever you want to do. But get down on that line and high five these teams. They deserve it after putting everything out on that track there.
Go for it.
Let's give it up for all of our skaters today from Low Rollin' Deuces and from Dublin Roller Derby B.
Our work here is done.
Yeah. Can we make it around the whole track like this?
So that's game one, folks. We will be back here in an hour for first whistle on our second game. Enjoy your little break, buy some raffle tickets, support some merch, and just be proud of yourselves.
Yay!